Okay, I'll call ZBA meeting to order. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Is that on me tonight?
Yes, I guess that's on you.
So, Hunter, absent. Sheehan Stahl, absent. Milky. Here. Warner.
Here.
Tyson, here.
Okay. Approval of July 9th meeting minutes or comments, changes? Anybody got?
I happen to be on vacation, so I don't know if they're right or wrong, but I didn't notice any real errors.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved. Any correspondence, board reports? Any comments, Brian?
I don't think so.
Not much.
Looking
Okay.
at Peter if I forgot anything from planning commission, but I don't think so.
I mean, we did some stuff, nothing, we had a Renaissance Public School Academy site plan that was postponed, they're doing an expansion, so they're gonna rule on that. We had a rezoning application, Rosewood Development, from an R3A to a OS, yep, Office Service District. That was gonna be for the expansion of an existing parking lot and an existing office facility, medical office facility. And then the other portion was going to be rezoned for a new medical facility. I believe it is Dr. Mohan is the doctor involved with the facility. And we also held a public hearing and made a recommendation for group daycare home, which is the item we have on our agenda tonight. One of the conditions of approval was that the applicant seek and obtain a dimensional variance for the property. So that's what we did.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, approval of agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Support.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda approved. Okay, at this time, I'll open up public comment to items not on the agenda. If anybody curious to make any comments, please step up to the podium, state your name and address. Hearing none, we'll close public comment. New business, variance 2019-08. At this time, we will open up public comment for the variance. After that, the applicant can present their request.
Is this for the daycare for Julie Record?
Mm-hmm.
She's unable to make it. I'm kind of like her spokesperson, kind of. I was just told to come here, and she had her appendix out yesterday, so.
Oh, no.
And she's in Minnesota, so it's kind of like she tried to make a home for this.
Is
but-
she okay?
Yeah, she's
Okay,
good. But she asked me to be here to see how things would go, so.
Okay. So at this time, we'll just open up public comment for the variance request. Hearing none, we'll close public hearing for the variance, move on to the variance. So I guess with that, Peter, you want to read the
So
notification of public hearing?
yeah, so tonight we're holding a public hearing for a dimensional variance located at 5115 Stirrup Lane, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, variance 2019-08. This dimensional variance, is for a lot that has been rezoned from R5 to R2B. The applicant is seeking a special use on the property. The property, after being rezoned, is a legal non-conforming lot now, and so to utilize it, you need to seek a dimensional variance, as it states in section 9.9 of the zoning ordinance. Utilization of an existing lot not conforming to area, width, or other provisions of this ordinance may be permitted, provided a variance is obtained. And so the applicant is applying for a dimensional variance from sections 21. The minimum requirement for a lot area R2B is 8,400 square feet, and the minimum lot width is 70 feet.
Okay. So they're out of town, the actual applicant, as she stated. So for, I guess an explanation for this is, it was existing platted subdivision
Mhm.
back in the day, it met the requirements.
Yep, it was
At the plat.
Yep, it was originally, the parcel was designed to meet the standards of an R5 district, not an R2B, so.
So it was platted that way as such,
Mhm.
the lot dimensions and the square footage. And then now, they've asked for a rezoning, or they did,
They asked for a rezone.
zone on the property, or for the property.
Yep.
For their future daycare. That was approved, right?
Yes, that
With
was
this,
approved.
up to this point.
Mhm.
The planning commission approved it. So she's asking for a variance on an existing lot. That she now, wants to do business on.
Mhm.
So she didn't say, she didn't create the lot was existing.
Yeah, no, when I went through, and we're gonna go through 5.8C, 1 through, 1, A through E, but when I went through my review, that's the reason I put in my recommendation in your memo. Basically sum up the history in your memo. Parcel is part of Copper Estate subdivision approved last decade. This property was recently rezoned in May from R5 to R2B, so the owner could seek a SUP for a group daycare home. Planning Commission held a public hearing for the SUP application in July last month. Planning Commission has recommended approval of the SUP for a group daycare home on the condition that the applicant obtain a dimensional variance. Recommended approval of the dimensional variance. The parcel was originally surveyed to meet the standards of an R5 district and not an R2B district, and so that was no action of the applicant, and that's also what I would consider the land to have a special condition or circumstance that's not applicable to other R2B parcels that are that meet the minimum width and minimum square footage.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
Can I ask them a question? Do you live in the neighborhood?
No.
You do not?
I know where it's at, and I've been there lots of times, so.
Okay, but you're not a resident there?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
So, do you know the history, Peter? I mean, because this is not really, the use of this area is not R5, but how it, I mean, what was the motivation between planting this as an R5 and then someone built what is not an R5 neighborhood in here?
Well, the only thing that when I was going through my own research and looking at the platted subdivision, the lot, it was zoned R5 because it allowed smaller lots, and so you could get more
Okay.
lots on just that one area of the subdivision, and you're still allowed to have a one-family dwelling in an R5 district. The idea, the only thing I could find is that it had to have been a size issue. That with the R2B, the lots would have been too big, and I guess they could have fit more in there on that section. There was also abutting or adjoining where the R5 is, a larger parcel that was also zoned R5. So it could have been, at one point the plan could have been that they were going to start with those homes on that one side, but then you'd eventually expand out and plat out the rest of that R5 property, but over a decade went by and that never happened, so
There's some other issues too,
there probably is.
but there was some financial issues on the original developer, but that's the way it was designed when it was laid out back in the day, I think, just to get the lots, as many on there as he could.
Yeah, which is kind of gaming the system a little bit. I mean, instead of, say, 5 or 6 here, you could have gotten one less and met probably, in any event. I mean, this certainly is not an issue created by the landowner.
They're not big lots, but yeah, no, it was a platted subdivision, it was approved.
Yep.
We had to build a drain right in the backside of that a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Jake was out there.
Just,
So.
this has always caught me as odd every time we visit this neighborhood as far as the lots.
Yeah. Well, and,
And the detention areas they had to have for it too.
Yeah.
Took
Well,
up some
and
space.
I was gonna say Brian, you recall from the, working on the new zoning ordinance, talking about potentially having to, take out the R5 district at all.
Right.
So.
Because we only have like 1 or 2, right? in the-
Yeah, there's only
two,
a
I think?
couple, and so it's, in the future, the 2 sections of the township that we do have R5 might, be group rezoned into R2B in the future.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder.
I guess I'll go through
Yeah, we can go
5.
through. Yep.
8.
So a variance from the terms of this ordinance shall not be granted by the Board of Appeals unless and until written application for a variance is submitted demonstrating that special conditions and circumstances exist that are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved that are not applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district.
Pre-platted lot.
Yep.
Again.
That's what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah.
A variance from the terms of this ordinance shall not be granted by the Board of Appeals unless and until the literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of this ordinance. I think that would apply also if you were to deny the variance, the dimensional variance, the applicant would not be able to move forward with the special use permit application, which has been recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, which other R2B districts would be, eligible for, or commonly
Allowed.
enjoyed, yeah.
So can I pause for a minute? So as a reminder from the Planning Commission, the rezoning was contingent upon the SUP?
No, the rezoning was not conditioned on anything.
It was not?
Yep.
So at this point, and then has that gone to the Board of Trustees then?
Yeah, the rezone is adopted and effective.
Thank you. And if you said that already, my apologies.
No problem.
Thanks.
Yep. C, so a variance from the terms of this ordinance shall not be granted by the Board of Appeals unless and until that the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. So we've already covered that. That granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district. The dimensional variance is, the intent of it is to let the applicant use a special use. So by granting the dimensional variance, it's not allowing the applicant to do anything that would be a special privilege or denied to other R2B districts. Variance from the terms of this ordinance shall not be granted by the Board of Appeals unless and until no non-conforming use of neighboring lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district and no permitted use of lands, structures, or buildings in other districts shall be considered grounds for the issuance of a variance.
Not considered.
Yeah, but nobody's used that argument.
Andrew's got a question, comment?
I have a question before anybody makes a motion. the fact that it's previously zoned in R5 and a group daycare facility is a special use allowable in that district.
Yep.
What was the rationale for rezoning it? Because typically the township's not in the business of rezoning individual parcels.
Say that again?
Kind of like spot zoning?
Spot zoning, correct.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a spot zone. You're basically, you have the R5 is a residential district, the R2B is a residential district. Both allow one-family dwellings.
So you're considering that more of a reclassification than a rezoning? I'm asking because,
Yeah, no, for you to officially have a spot zoning, it would have to be, the characteristics of the basically area neighborhood would have to drastically not fit the other parcels or the other zoning.
At least some of their opposite.
Yeah, and so the only, in this neighborhood, you have the one side of Stirrup Lane that is R5, and every other parcel in that subdivision is R2B. So now you're just gonna have one less parcel that is R5. So by changing that to R2B, it's very hard argument to try to call it a spot zone.
so in that instance, my question is, what was the reason for the rezoning then, since a group daycare facility is allowable in the R5?
It's not allowed. in
It's
the
a
As
R5.
a special use,
Not for an R5, is it?
not. It has to go to the R2B?
Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
I think that's what it,
I wanted to get the background
Yeah,
of it
that's-
before I asked
yeah.
that question.
Yeah, nope. There's permitted uses, there's no special uses in an R5.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Right, so it had to be rezoned for
Correct.
this.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's what I wanted to go through that
Clarify.
exercise, just since I wasn't part of the planning commission meeting. Thank you.
Yep.
Because I think it's important to clarify that, that we're not condoning the,
Right.
you know, people
Yeah.
seeking out to try and
Individual
rezone
use.
something to get something that they want. This is simply taking another area that was R2B, surrounding it, taking it from an R5 and turning it into an R2B for the purpose of the special use, which is allowable.
Yep.
And I
In
guess
the
more
neighborhood,
stating all of
too.
that on the record, so, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, if it was allowed in an R5 and they're rezoned it to R2B, it'd actually be doing the applicant a disservice because you're now creating a parcel that's legal non-conforming.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So Peter, assuming they weren't applying for an SUP here for a moment, if we grant them a variance to allow them essentially to be conforming, right?
For the size of the lot.
Are there other advantages that they're gaining from, as far as like insurance or anything else? I mean, we're not, there's no unintended consequences here, right?
Yeah, no, so they're a smaller lot, and so basically by, the dimensional variance is, as is listed in the application, and I can't remember the exact number, on width and, square footage that they're applying for, but you're basically saying that although this is, not as wide as it needs to be and the square footage is less, we'll count, we'll count this, it'll be good. But they would still have to meet, for example, if they were to add onto the house, whether they were going east, west, south, or north, they would still have to meet the setback requirements for an R2B district, so.
So probably the only thing they would really be gaining is they could make it a two-family dwelling, right? Potentially. I know that's not the intent, but I'm
Well,
just,
no,
I'm
the-
looking at
well, but
what else they're gaining.
Conditions.
Well, no,
potentially.
but they wouldn't be, an R2B district, everyone else that's R2B, they have a right to have a one-family or two-family
Oh,
as
they
well.
do? I didn't, okay, I didn't understand that in the R5.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Okay,
R2B.
R2B.
From the R5 to the R2B is where
Yeah.
you get that.
yeah.
So that they.
So by being R2B, if they wanted to go from a one-family to two-family, it's a permitted use by right.
Right, but you, I mean, maybe I misheard, but in an R5, you cannot have a two-family
Right.
dwelling.
No, yeah,
Correct, okay.
but they're not an R5 anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think that's why
Yeah.
they're doing this. The reason I ask is we have neighbors to think of here, and so I wanted to look at what else can they do with that rezone that the neighbors can't, right? And is it gonna be upsetting to the neighbors?
And I can say, we've had a notice for a rezoning, a notice for a special use permit, and a notice for a variance. So that's 3 notices that have gone to the neighborhood, and we haven't had complaints.
Nobody's
Zero
commenting?
No,
Yeah.
I, covering our bases again,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
Potentially a
That's what I was
complaint that they keep getting notices, but, you know.
right.
wondering. Yeah, right. But,
They had to see one of them at least, you would
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
So they just, like you said earlier, they said they just kind of expanded the R2B to one parcel,
Mm-hmm.
according with the neighbors.
Yep.
Would you take a motion?
I would take a motion.
Motion to approve variance request 2019-08 based on the, I'm gonna make sure I quote the right section here, 5.8C, number 1, demonstrating compliance with sections A through E as listed by Peter in previous discussion.
Second.
There's support, okay. Any further comments?
To be clear, I can't see any conditions that we would want to be offering here. It'll have to comply with all the R2B regulations, and that
Right,
seems
and that's
adequate.
kind of
Right,
why I
yeah.
wanted to go through the rest of what they might gain. just in
Exactly.
case. Right.
Discuss, yeah.
I'm with you.
Uh-huh. No other comments. Those in favor of the motion presented?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. Motion, variance is approved.
Thank
Okay.
you.
The decision of the board shall not be final until 21 days after it is made. The decision is not made until the minutes of this meeting are approved. The minutes of this meeting will be approved next month at the September Zoning Board of Appeals, and 21 days after that is the appeal. Any person having an interest affected by such ordinance shall have the right to appeal to circuit court on questions of law and fact during said period. Any person, persons, taxpayer, department, board, or bureau of the township aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Appeals shall have the right to appeal to Isabella County Circuit Court on questions of law and fact.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Moving on, other business. We have variance 2019-05. Steve Wazorek variance. No further information on that at this point, Peter, I guess. I'll just leave it tabled.
Yep, basically, the applicant has asked for another postponement, and so it's up to the board on whether you guys want to,
Carry it? or-
postpone to another month or take it up. But, yep.
Is there a
So,
motion on that, or?
Was it actually postponed or tabled?
Or ta- I think
It was
it's-
postponed at the last meeting, so we should take action, right?
Well, it was postponed, because now that's
2 meetings
last, yeah.
ago.
It was June, it was postponed to July, and then they postponed it from July to now August, so.
Okay, yes, it's
we can-
postponed to June. But
Yeah.
postpone means we should at least, if we're not gonna do anything with it, postpone it again versus
Yeah, yep.
table.
Correct.
Yeah, and there was another there was a postponement at the last meeting.
So, I'll motion to table, buys us more time, table variance 2019-05.
Support.
Discussion. Those in favor of the motion presented?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Variance 2019-5 tabled. At this time, I will open up to extended public comment. Anyone wish to speak on any item, may step before the podium, state name and address. Hearing none, close the public comment. Final board comment. I have just one question. Let me get my paper. There is a joint board meeting end of the month. And he asked for a little 5-minute presentation by the chairs. And we can, anybody got any comments or anything? I mean, I don't really know what I'll say at this point yet. I just read this yesterday. But, I don't know. I thought maybe I might ask Peter how many variances we've received over the past year.
Yeah, because the chair of the sidewalk committee, he talked with me at our recent meeting as well, and I said what I can do is, I can type up a list of stuff that we've done, and then, send it your way, and, then you can, add if you want something else to it, but that way you have a base of something to, yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're doing variance count, you might as well do like text interpretation and.
But that wouldn't be for here, the ZBA, that'd be for the planning commission.
Well, we had a couple.
Oh, text interpretation.
Interpretation,
Yeah,
sorry,
See-
sorry.
I
thought it,
We just did a text amendment, so that was fresh.
I
in my
almost
head.
said text amendment, that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
Just
Because
outline
we've had a few of those
whatever.
this,
Yep.
this last year and.
Yeah.
Whatever we covered
Yep.
in the last year.
And I think I think it'd be important to make a statement, which I think should go without saying, but since you have the floor, to explain that we have obviously a vested interest, since we're the ones that have to bear the brunt of the planning commission decisions or changes.
Zoning ordinance.
So we want to make sure that we remind everyone that we want to be kept in the loop, and Brian's doing a good job representing us now, so. But while you have everybody's attention, it doesn't hurt to throw it out there.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah, I
that's what
think-
I ask you guys.
Very important to this body.
That way you're not the only one going to bat
Yeah.
for us. We can bat for ourselves a little bit.
Hey, well, because last year, I didn't catch that. They wanted a little speech, but that's all I had. So-
Well, good, you're planning on being there, so I don't have to do
At
that.
this point, I am planning being there.
In the event that something happens and you're unable, I plan on being there as well, so.
Okay.
I've got it on my calendar. I always think it's an interesting meeting.
Mm-hmm. I forget, but I got the reminder, so that was nice.
Yep.
Any other comments? If not, we'll adjourn the meeting, 7:28.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that up.